I was in a great, large cathedral. Um, could be anywhere, who knows, but it was massive. Uh, Looked like 4 or 5 stories tall, and you know, um, wide enough to run back and forth and break a sweat trying to get from one end to the other. Um, and I was a young boy, which was strange. I ran to the back of the altar, and there was like this garden area, which was kind of outside but not outside. And I got to the very far end. Um, in the corner of this garden, there was a crevice, and I hid something covered in a leather, like cloth, wrapped around it and tied, with leather um, straps or rope, and I hid it in this little crevice in the very remote part of the garden that had cobwebs around it, so nobody had been there for a very long time. So I hid it there so nobody could find it. Then I came back, and I noticed there were some priests walking in, and I hid behind this little table, and I crouched down on the floor in like a fetal position and hiding as best I could. And one of the priest's assistants or whatever saw me, and he looked at me, and he saw me, eye to eye. And he could see that I was a scared young boy. He just kind of nodded his head and go, to the side door. You can get out that way. And the minute I stood up, I was a full-grown adult, say 30, 35 years old, and I had a shepherd's staff with me. And so I turned and I walked down the center aisle, and people on the left of me, people on the right of me were just moving aside, like I had authority or power, and I could feel it. It was like, okay, nobody's going to hurt me, nobody's going to touch me, and I walked towards the back of the church, and it was kind of like everybody was parting the Red Sea. And then I ended up in the city square, like a lot of European towns have, where there's a fountain in the middle, or there's a statue or something, and there's this big square, and there's all these churches and buildings around it. Well, to the left of me, it kind of felt like Spain or Italy. To the left, there was the large Catholic church to my left, and then in front of me, there was some Islamic or Muslim women yelling at me, Fatima, Fatima, and it looked like there might have been a mosque behind them, but I couldn't really tell. And then they were saying all these things to me, and it sounded like Farsi, but I wasn't sure. I didn't understand any of it. And then they were saying something, and I kind of understood that they were saying that Jesus was not the Messiah or Savior. They didn't believe it. It was Muhammad. And it made me sad. And then I looked at my feet, and there was this baby, and he's waving his arms around, and his hands and feet in the air, and he was laughing and cooing, and like a happy baby does. They just they can't control their arms and feet, but they're happy little campers laying on their back. And the strange thing when I looked at the baby was it was glowing a white, radiant aura around it, and then I could see through him. But it wasn't like you could see the organs of the bones or anything else. He looked like a jellyfish with soft edges around it, and he was glowing. And I said, well, I need to pick up this baby and take care of him. And then to my right, these Jewish, not really rabbis, but they were, you could tell they were Jews. And they grabbed me by the arm and said, you need to come with us. And so they led me off the square into this building through an archway. And then the archway went down this, they weren't stairs, but just a causeway. And it was sandstone type hallway tunnel. And it was all lit up with torches, and you can see. And then I woke up. You tell me.